Hello, everybody. So, Cloud back here, more Wound Willow Magic. Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for checking us out again. And today we're going to move forward with our Wicca 101 prep, and we're going to talk about Wicca itself as a religion. Okay, we're not going to dive too heavy into the practices and the beliefs because those are going to be touched on in the actual series, okay? But Wicca in itself, it is a religion. It is a neo-pagan religion. And it is a neo-pagan religion that kind of resurfaced in the 1950s. And the reason why they call it neo-pagan is because it was the practice of witchcraft never really went away. Yeah, we had the Inquisition and the Crusades and all these things that happened that, you know, that the Christian church and basically went through and spread the word of God. And all of the ancient tribes and older civilizations that practiced pagan religions and had these practices, a lot of them went into hiding, and some family traditions were passed down while others were assimilated into the church. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Christmas. Looking at you, Easter. But for the most part, it went away for a while throughout that process. But some people still held their beliefs to those ancient traditions and to the practice of witchcraft. And thus, in the 1950s, it kind of resurfaced by a book from Gerald Gardner. This is debatable, but we're just going over, like I said, a brief history. Okay, there's a lot more to it, and we can talk about that all day. But what it did is it kind of brought those old-time beliefs back into light. And so Wicca in itself is a nature-based religion. It's wonderful if you ask me. It is a personal spiritual path. It can be practiced by anybody as long as you are responsible for your actions and what you do within that space of being a Wiccan. And what I mean by that is, now we can talk about Wicca, the religious belief side of things. You know, it's basically a duotheistic religion and or a polytheistic religion, depending on how you want to look at it. Because divinity is split between masculine and feminine, and most people will choose a matron or patron god and goddess, or they will work with many different deities, and that, you know, that speaks to me in a way that means no other, because I personally see it like this. This is a very big world and a very big universe, and I don't see how one God could rule all of that, myself, personally. But, you know, to those of you who do, I mean, absolutely, it's cool. But, you know, basically there is the one universal divine, the spirit element that is in everything, okay? And that is broken down into a masculine and feminine energies, and masculine and feminine correspondences with different things within Wicca. And we're going to go into that more in the class, okay? But just so you know, it's broken down into those two areas, all right? Masculine and feminine. it's a wonderful path to walk for a self-realization that you are connected to the earth. We are a part of the earth. We ain't nothing but animals. I mean, when you look at it, us humans, we ain't nothing but animals, but we are the animals that have evolved to the point to where we can build giant structures and bridges and create technology and go to the moon and do all of these things. So one would figure we would be the stewards of this planet, and that's how a lot of Wiccans, not all Wiccans, but a lot of Wiccans see themselves in that light, that we should be stewards of this planet, take care of it, watch our footprint on the earth, and do what we can to nurture our mother. Now, as a race of humans, we have not been very responsible holding that space, but I'm going to go ahead and get off of my soapbox now. So, Wicca, when you look at it, is basically a tradition of witchcraft based off of neo-pagan or old-time pagan beliefs, okay? You don't have to practice witchcraft to practice Wicca, but it's incorporated within the teachings, okay? So basically we celebrate and worship at specific times throughout the year, okay? There are 8 solar holidays. They are called Sabbats, and they fall upon the solstices and equinoxes, and then there are also cross-quarter Sabbats, depending on where the earth is around the sun at the time, okay? Now Wicca also has some dogma attached with these, and we'll go over that as well within the class, okay? And then there's also the moon phases and our full moons. There are 13 throughout the year, and debating on what time it is, okay? And let me just kind of break down why these became specific days of worship. You see, they didn't have clocks back then. They didn't have cell phones to tell you what the moon phase is right now. They had to track the stars. They had to track the location of the sun and where it is. Not focus? Not focus? Okay, that's fine. All right, thank you. So through tracking that, they could tell when it was time to plant crops, when it was time to harvest crops. They could tell when the rains were going to come, when winter was going to come, so that they could plan and accordingly, so that they could make it through the harsh winters back then, And so they made sure they had enough food to make it through the winters back then. And it's all a matter of being thankful for what we are provided with by the earth. And so these days of worship are significant. They're significant to the cycle of our planet that we still go through all the time. We may look at things a little bit differently now in a modern age, but back then, that was life. It was life or death back then. So they would worship the gods on these days in thanks for making sure that they had a decent harvest so that they could survive the winter. Make sure that their crops did grow. They could track where the stars were and tell what time of the year it was. They could track the sun's location and tell about what time of day it was. And that is a very big basis on how these civilizations got started. And different myths and legends and beliefs were created from the tracking of the stars, the tracking of the sun, and knowing when the rain's going to come, and knowing when a drought is on its way. All of these things, you see, back then people were much more connected to the actual cycle of the earth. We're not as connected to that anymore. We're more connected to the internet nowadays. We're more connected to our daily lives and the hustle and bustle of working and going home and paying your bills and doing all that. We're not as connected to the planet anymore as people. Okay? And lately, over time, over the last few years, I have seen some subtle shift in consciousness as a whole within humanity to try and start the process of thinking about, holding that space of being stewards of the planet. So what Wicca is to me, it's life, okay? It's a very good path to live by, if you ask me. And there are some misconceptions out there of exactly what Wicca is. Because you have magic involved. And here's where things get kind of kooky within the Wiccan community, because there are hundreds of different traditions of Wicca. Because it's your own personal path, a lot of people decide to be eclectic and solitary with their Wicca, and they take from life experiences and beliefs, and maybe sometimes even other belief structures, to practice their own path through Wicca. It is still technically Wicca, but it is an eclectic version of that. They don't have, it's not structured the way your larger Abrahamic religions are. It's more focused on you and how you live your life. Okay? Now, there's this law within Wicca, and not everybody follows it. Some people do. I personally do. And it's, and it harm none, do what ye will. Now, this doesn't mean don't hurt anybody, don't do this. No. It means you do what you will. That is a speaking to the magic, because the magic and the beliefs and the energies that we work with and everything, it is your will. So you do what you will. It means do you. But do you in your own space. And don't put anything out there to harm anybody else. Harm anything else, really. Whether that be spiritually, mentally, or physically. People talk about Wicca, and they say it's a left-handed path or a right-handed path. And, I can't even tell the difference between the two. And there's white magic and black magic and light and dark and all that. And listen, okay, you cannot have light without darkness, okay? You cannot have a left-handed path and a right-handed path. Now, if you want to talk about something is left-handed or right-handed, okay, let's put it to you like this. On one side of the coin, you've got the pagans and the Wiccans out there who only do magic to help other people. And on the other hand is for people doing magic for personal gain. Okay? Whether that be like a spiritual growth, or doing a money spell for themselves, or doing a love spell for themselves, okay? Some people don't believe in doing magic for personal gain, and some people do this. Now, I look at it like this, okay? We're 13 minutes into this video, so I'm going to have to start wrapping it up in a minute, but when you're looking at it, if you want to help people, you can't be in a position to help people unless you're in a position to help yourself first. Because if you can't help yourself, how are you going to be able to help anybody else? So you have to do what you will. One side of the coin. You have to do for yourself. And if that takes you doing magic for yourself for your own personal gain, then you do that with the intention of eventually being able to help other people, or whatever it is that you want to do with it. Okay? So, there's this term, it's called a crooked path. Because sometimes you're on this side, and sometimes you're on this side, and sometimes you're on this side, and sometimes you're on this side. You're never really right in the middle with what you're doing with your magic. you're crooked. I love that term so much because it makes sense. But when it comes down to it, it all balances out in the end. But you're the one that has to maintain that balance. All right? So, I could talk all day about deities, Wiccan beliefs, but we're going to be breaking this down into more of a class lecture format, starting with the next video, where we're going to be going over like the basic beliefs and principles of Wicca. Okay, so let me know in the comments below your thoughts on what you feel that Wicca is. Okay? Because I want to hear them. I want to hear what kind of Wicca do you practice? What tradition do you practice? Or do you not practice Wicca at all? Or you just practice another traditional witchcraft? I want to know what it is that you practice in the comments, okay? So that way we can talk about them. Because I want to know more about you guys as well. I also want to let you know the Moon Willow Magic Wiccan music experiment. We are branching into some other genres with that. And coming soon, we're going to have a punk rock song, and we're going to have a blues song. You know, if I can get the technology together for it, I am also working on a hip-hop song. So, hopefully you guys like that stuff. If not, you know, just let me know as well, because, like I said, it is an experiment. Alright? But, if you guys want to join the discussion, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down the bottom. Hit the like button if you liked it. And if you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. I don't care. But yeah, seriously, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. And definitely want to hear your thoughts on everything. Yeah, until then, bright blessings. Blessed be, guys.